Okay, welcome everybody. Good to see you all here. We got people online, we got a few people in person, and we're continuing in Torah Samach Aleph in Likutei Moharan, 61. And this is our third shir, and we're starting to get into some deeper understandings of the concept here. So, just to get where we are, we started off by the Chadi Rabbi Shimon, that Rabbi Shimon was happy, and he made a famous statement of that even though Habakkuk HaNavi feared when he saw the future of Rabbi Akiva, where his 24,000 students would be killed, would die, because why? They were not together. They didn't have respect and love for one another, right? And that was a good reason to be fearful. Reb Shimon said, not by us. Anan bechavivusa talya milsa. We are connected through love. And because of that, we have achdus and we don't have to worry. And this is going to play a big role in the end of the Torah. We said that the main inyan over here is emunas chachamim. That it's through emunas chachamim that we are able to align ourselves. Whoa, Rabbeinu Yoina, welcome. Long time. Okay. So we said that through emunas chachamim, we're able to bring our mishpat la'or, our decisions, our mishpat out to light. And this happens, and this is called the Amura de Emtza Issa, the central pillar, the aspect of strength. We said that aligning ourselves to the connector and the pillar of Amuras Chachamim, me to my teacher, and my teacher to his teacher, and so on and so forth. Everyone that has Amuras Chachamim creates a pillar, a strength, a stability, a security that links us back up to Moshe Rabbeinu, up to Hashem, and allows us to be connected to Chachma, to wisdom, to download it into ourselves. And through this, we're able to bring out our mishpat to light. We said one way that we're understanding mishpat is the way that we have to make decisions in our lives. We have to be a shofet. We have to decide what's going to be when I'm confused and I don't know what to do. I have to be a shofet. I have to make a decision. Right? Through Amunut Chachamim, I'm going to be able to make this decision in a way of light, a way of truth, a way of, so we have mishpat la'or, mishpatei emes, mishpatei hanhagas. That means decisions of light, decisions of truth, decisions of conduct, personal conduct in the world, and mishpatei hanhagas yesharis, and those should be upright and straight. And we said it's through this that through the Amunas Chachamim, we're not going to go to the right, we're not going to go to the left, to the extremes of materialism and desire, or on the other hand, of constriction and anger and control. And rather, we're going to be in the middle, and through being in the middle, our Amunas Chachamim and our Masorah that we become part of is able to guide us in the right way. And especially yesterday, we said this inyan okay, you know what, let's start at the bottom of page 198, where it says, there's a bunch of books up there, by the way, if someone wants to grab them, English ones. They are volume 7, lessons 58 to 64. 58 to 64. So we said, this is all when we have Amunas Chachamim. But when we have a blemish, when we're Pogem Amunas Chachamim, we are now Nidon B'Yegias Basar. We put ourselves into the realm of the wearying of the flesh. Okay, so we're gonna pick up here. We began this topic last week. In mine, it's page 198. It might be 196 in yours, but you'll see.
No, the different versions.
There's one of them. Let me see. Yeah, 198. 198. Okay. So we're now going to get back into the inyan of Yegias Basar and Moisres that we talked about last night, and we'll go weiter from here. Last week, and we'll go weiter from here. Okay, so when we ruin Emunas Chachamim, when we put a blemish in it, when we taint Emunas Chachamim, so what happens? We get condemned to wearying of the flesh. Hainu b'Moisres. So. Like this. I'll just we'll remind ourselves of how to understand this. So first of all, let's read one more sentence. Chazal say in the Gemara in Eruvin, "Haloya gal divrei chachamim nidon b'tzoyer resachas." Someone who mocks the words of chachamim, the words of our sages, is condemned to boiling excrement. So presumably, in a simple sense, this means, like the Gemara is referring to the afterlife punishment of someone who mocks the Talmidei Chachamim, that they're going to be in a situation of being in burning, boiling excrement, right? Okay, and we are when we're pogem in Minos Chachamim, we're nidon b'yagias basar, the wearying of the flesh. That means that the flesh, our body, has to work hard and has to go through something. Hainu b'moisres. Moisres means extraneous things, which here simply means excrement. What on earth are we talking about over here? What on earth are we talking about, right? So, there's a physical process, that through the physical process, we're going to understand a spiritual process. The physical process is like this. When we eat food, so what happens? We take in the food, and we take in the nutrients, the good things that we need, right? The things that are positive, that are valuable, that are good for us. And the waste matter, the stuff that we don't need, that's extraneous, that passes through us as excrement, right? So it's excrement represents the things that we don't need, that are not of value, right? So corresponding to this, we have this inyan of moisres, things that are extraneous in the way that we govern ourselves, the way that we behave. Meaning what? So, like we said last week, but we'll continue. A person has only a certain number of hours in the day, a certain number of minutes in the day. And we are able to take that time that we have and make it valuable, make it important, right? I can take, a half hour and I can spend it speaking to a person who needs encouragement. I could spend it learning Torah. I could spend it preparing food for Shabbos. I could spend it preparing divrei Torah that I'm going to say at the Shabbos table. The list could go on of good things I could do. I could go and give tzedakah to somebody. You name it. How many good things can we do, right? And every time I do something like this, that time is now valuable and essential, right? Think about the first one we said. Go and spend some time speaking to a person who needs encouragement. What have you done for that person? How important was that? That person felt connected to? That person felt like you cared about them, right? You now changed that person's day, maybe changed that person's life, right? This is so valuable. You just took that half hour and you did something amazing. It's so useful and important. It's valuable. Or you could, everybody knows what my favorite example is of wasting time, right? You could pick up your phone and scroll through nothingness for that same half hour. And what happened to that half hour?
Nothing.
It's gone. It's done. It was nothing useful happened. And if you want to tell me, Rabbi, but there's some useful things I could do. You didn't do that, okay? If you did useful things, okay. But I'm talking about when you don't. When you just are lost in that ridiculous scroll. Get a filter on your phone. Wipe out all that stuff. But trust me, it's the best thing you could do. Right? But what happened to that half hour? It's gone. That half hour is useless. It's like extraneous. It's worthless. It's nothing. As opposed to that half hour of value that's important, this is extraneous, useless. It's waste matter. That half hour became waste matter. So I can live my life adding value and importance through the things that I do, or I can be living my life in a bechina of moisres, only creating wasteful, excrement-like behaviors. Can you imagine? Right? So this is the inyan of Moisres, and the opposite of leading a life of meaning, living a life of meaning. Am I doing something meaningful, something purposeful, or is it the opposite of that, which is extraneous and wasteful? Meaningful, purposeful, or extraneous and wasteful? What am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? So I want to say that the punishment, we say a person who blemishes, who repudiates, is a good word that he uses over here, repudiates emunas chachamim, right, is nidoin b'yigias basar, and is nidoin b'tzoyeres achas, is condemned to this aspect of moisres, of excrement. It's not some kind of far out there afterlife punishment only, right? Rather, if you engage in this behavior of moisres, you're nidoin b'moisres. You're condemned to a life of wasteful purposelessness. It's like your punishment. You're creating it yourself. If you do it and you use behavior that you go against the divrei chachamim, and you go away from this pathway and this channel and this alignment of our tradition and our Messiah, from the tremendous wisdom from Moshe Rabbeinu all through all of the Talmidei Chachamim that comes down to me, that gives me the way to live, the way to be purposeful and meaningful, and the way to live an amazing life. And I choose to go away from that and to mock it. So, you know what? Then I'm going to be condemned to living a life of purposelessness, meaninglessness, and wastefulness. That's what it's going to be. I'm going to be living a life of excrement. So it's not only this far off punishment. It's like this is the life that you're condemning yourself to if we do such a thing. If we veer away from that, and this is the inyan. Emunas Chachamim means I'm aligning myself with the channel of all of the advice, all of the tradition, all of the Messiah, everything that comes down from our entire Torah, Shebiksav, Torah Shebal Peh. This is when I align myself with this, I'm putting myself into a place of meaning and purpose, and I'm putting myself in the middle. I'm not being pulled to physical desires. I'm not being pulled to anger. Rather, I'm going along this path. This is the life of meaning and purpose. This is the amazing part, right? Kamosh Katsup. Like the pasuk says in the Gemara, "V'halag harbe yigias basar." Lag harbe yigias basar, and the Gemara over there learns this statement in two ways, but the way that Rabbi Nachman is learning it is the second way, which is lahag really means loyeg, like to mock, right? The Gemara itself says that too much mockery causes a wearying of the flesh, which is when the body has to work too hard in order to process the food, and it creates this aspect of yuckiness and excrement. Okay. Vehu mida keneged mida, and it is mida keneged mida. It is measure for measure. In other words, exactly what you did is what you're getting back. How do we see it? Ki hu einoi mamin b'divreihem umalig alehem. You didn't have trust in their words, the words of the Chachamim. Umalig alehem, and you mocked them. V'divreihem hem ach lamoisar etzlai. And their words, the words of our Chachamim, the words of our tradition, became like extraneous to you, like you don't need them. They're valueless and useless to you, right? That's what you made them. Alkein nidan b'moisrais. So therefore, you're going to receive this afterlife punishment of boiling excrement, and you're going to live a life now of excrement. Why? Because you're condemning yourself to a life without meaning and purpose, and just wastefulness, right? This is such a thing in our time, that people can spend so much time. Like people my age, I'm a Gen Xer, and people my age love to talk about the way that we were raised compared to the kids nowadays. And we like to talk about these things, and people have like these things that they say, like, "Oh, we went outside to play, and we only had to come in once the street lights came on." Right? We were just free, and we were outside a lot, and we were doing actual things with actual people. as opposed to just, being on electronic devices all the time. Okay, it's maybe not as romantic as it really was, but right? But parts of it are true in that there was a lot more personal contact, and kids, they if they wanted to do anything, they had to go and find their friends and play. You didn't have there was like a few channels on the television, right? Maybe you had, if you were well off, you maybe had one video game. Computers in the house did not exist yet, right? So you weren't connected with people unless you actually went and connected with actual people. And so kids played with each other. And when families went out to do something, like, imagine this, you couldn't be reached. Like, as soon as you left your house, like, that was it. No one could call you, because there's no such thing as a cell phone. So you were gone, and nobody was worried, or nobody was like, why isn't this guy calling me back? Right? Why isn't he text? Sometimes if someone's texting you, or if you're texting someone, and you don't hear back from them within like 30 seconds, like, what's wrong with this person? I've been waiting for 3 minutes already, and they haven't responded to me. I see, there's 2 blue check marks. I know they read it. Why are they not getting back to me? What's wrong with them? Right? It didn't used to be like this. You left your house, you're gone. Nobody could call you. You're doing something, and you have to be focused on that thing. Right? Totally different. And so there was a different level of focus and connection that we don't have nowadays. So nowadays, it's so much easier to get lost in purposelessness and meaninglessness, right? Like what can happen with the way that we're connected and all of these things in social media, all of them, right? Is we can just get absolutely lost, and hours can go by where we didn't connect with a single person despite being connected to the entire world. We didn't actually do anything. We didn't really think. We just allowed our brains to be shut off. We just turned into a complete zombie and it can be hours and hours, right? So it's something that didn't exist before. So we have a huge challenge with this now. It's a huge challenge, right? So Baruch Hashem, that we have the Torah of Rabbi Nachman, that we can begin to discuss what we're missing, right? And how Emunas Chachamim, which means, once again, plugging into this channel, this connection of wisdom that goes from us and all the way up and up and up through the great rabbis and teachers, through Moshe Rabbeinu to Hashem. Here we're downloading wisdom, and we're downloading the way to live. So we have to listen, and like we always say, let's not learn Rabbi Nachman in order to have a good intellectual experience in our learning that feels good and smart and inspiring. Let's take it and let's do it. Let's make sure that we actually act on it, right? Very important. Okay, let's keep going. V'chol ha-mishpatim hein min ha-moyach. So all mishpatim come from the moyach, the brain, the mind. V'chinas vayiru mipnei ha-melech ki yiro ki chochmas elokim b'kirboy lasos mishpat. Like the pasuk says in Malachim, that they feared the king because they saw that the wisdom of God was within him to do justice, to do mishpat, to exercise mishpat. So this pasuk is taken from a very famous story about Shlomo HaMelech, where everybody knows this story. Everybody in the world seriously knows the story. It's a famous story where 2 women came to Shlomo HaMelech, one with a living baby and one with a dead baby. And they both claimed that there was a mix-up. They both claimed that the living baby was theirs. And they came in front of Shlomo HaMelech so he could decide which mother gets the baby. What did he do? The famous thing that he did, he said the solution is, we'll cut the baby in half and you'll each take half. And so one of the mothers said, yeah, let's do it. Cut the baby in half. That's the solution. And the other one said, no, don't worry, she can keep it. And Shlomo HaMelech was like, that one is the real mother, right? So he knew from that who the real mother is. So this is meant to show that he had the wisdom to be able to see different situations for what they were, and to treat situations on their own, right? A famous one. And this is the story that everybody says, the wisdom of Shlomo HaMelech is visible in this story. Yeah? So we had this in the last Torah, by the way, at the end also. The last Torah that we learned, we had this also. Okay. Anyway, but what do we see over here? We see over here that the inyan of Mishpat is connected to Chochmah. They feared him because they saw that he had within him Chochmas Elokim. He had the wisdom of God within him. La sois Mishpat. So Mishpat happens through the mind, through Chochmah, through wisdom, which is in the mind. Okay, let's read it one more time, and now it'll make more sense. All Mishpatim are from the mind, the brain. Like the pasuk says, that they feared the king because they saw that the wisdom of Hashem was in him to do mishpat. Mishpat is connected to the mind, to wisdom. Okay? V'hamoyach lefi hamazon. And the mind is according to the sustenance that a person takes in, the food. Food affects the mind. Ucheshehaguf naki azai hamoyach barur. And when the body is clean, then the mind is clear. V'azai yochel lahotzi mishpatei emes hanhagos yesharis. And then a person is able to bring out true mishpatim, and upright behaviors and customs. Yeah? So he's now telling us that what we eat is going to affect our wisdom and our moyach, our brain. I mean, there's a lot to say here, but let's just start by saying like this, that physically, right, when we eat food, we know how it works, right? It goes into our digestive system. Our digestive system extracts nutrients and whatnot from it that then ends up eventually going into our bloodstream, and our bloodstream pumps this, and we have a very big artery over here, and we're on the sides, I don't remember which one it is, right? Which takes that blood, a lot of it, up into our brain, straight up into our brain. Our brain is fed and energized and oxygenated through our blood, and all of the nutrients from the food go into there. When we eat, it goes to every part of our body, but certainly it goes to our brain. Our brain is directly affected by what we eat. We are directly affected by what we eat, right? So, there's many laws of how we eat in Judaism, and kashrus, tuma and tahara, right? What's kosher, what's not kosher, what's pure, what's impure. There's many, the Rambam speaks a lot about, and many other people speak a lot about healthy eating, the importance of having a healthy body, right? Rav Kook was very, very strong in saying that we must have a strong, healthy body. I think it's the Sfas Emes that's quoted. Might be the Mizritcher Magid. One of the older Hasidic Rebbeim said this inyan that a hole in the body is a hole in the soul. Meaning, we need to have a healthy, good body in order to have a healthy, good soul. So the way we eat has a tremendous effect on us. I'm sure I can't be the only one who has, from time to time, completely overeaten and been completely usurped by physical desires for food, and found myself, getting up and sitting on the couch like, ugh, right? Feeling terrible. You could get tired. You want to go to sleep. Sometimes you can start sweating, right? Right? It can get pretty serious, and it has a huge effect on your ability to function, right? Very clearly, very obviously, in a regular physical way. Take it to a higher level. The inyan of kedushas ha'achila, of eating in a holy way, is so important in Kabbalah and Chassidus. So important. Has anybody heard of a Chassidish tish or experienced? Right. So this is a thing. It's very odd. If Tish. If you haven't seen such a thing before, it doesn't make sense. What happens is usually Friday nights or Yontif nights. So what happens? You go to shul, Chassidim go home, they have a Suda with their families, and then they come back to the place, the Moisad, and there's in the Chassidic places they have bleachers standing up with like thousands of the Chassidim all standing around, and they're singing, and they're watching the Rebbe who's sitting at the table in the middle. And what's he doing? Eating. They're watching the Rebbe eat. And the Rebbe is eating, but he's not just eating. If he's a real Rebbe. He's not just eating. Something is going on. Something very, very deep is going on when the Rebbe is eating. I remember the first time I experienced this, I've said it a number of times, but I experienced this. I went to the Tish of the Toldos Aaron Rebbe. This was back in 2001, a long time ago. It was the first time that I was at a Tish, and I went, and I saw, and I was like mind blown by the whole thing, and I was like, well, what is happening here? And it was geschmack and singing and the whole thing, and I think they like it when like non-Chassidish people come. They would like bring us over, and get us to have some of the food, the shirayim from the Rebbe, whatever. They were very nice. That was their kiruv, I think. But this time when I went there and I looked and I saw the Rebbe, this was like, I have like a list of moments that I experienced that changed my life, and this was one of them. I don't know what he was doing. I know a little bit more now, but he was doing something when he was eating that was very, very spiritual, very, very holy. There was some kind of glow coming from the Rebbe when he was doing this. Something different was going on. There's a whole section of kavanas, Kabbalistic intentions of eating in the Kisvei Arizal. A whole thing about I don't want to get into it, but it's complex things. But there's 4 sections within the mouth that represent different names of God and different things that are being drawn down through the eating when you're eating. And this is really what we're supposed to do when we're eating. At some point in our lives when we reach those levels. But okay, presumably we're not all there right now. I don't know, maybe you guys are, but something connected to eating is very, very, very important, right? It's one of these things that it's a physical desire that we all have, and there's something about it that makes it an extra difficult challenge. And that is that we have to do it every day. Almost every day. We have to do it, right? We can't stop eating. What happens when we stop eating for one day, for fasting, right? Halfway through the day, we're already fetching, right? Because it's so hard. We have to. So it's a physical desire that is animalistic, and is a place that can really take us into a bad state of spiritual existence. Yet we must do it every day, right? And because of that, because it's such a challenge and it's so difficult, I have you may know I lost a significant amount of weight recently, and I have a doctor who I went to help me get on a plan to get healthy, because I believe in this stuff. I'm not just saying it. I believe it's true. And this doctor said to me that it is next to impossible for a person to lose more than 10% of their body weight without drugs. It's literally almost impossible, because when the weight goes down, your body has a mechanism that kimat forces you to eat. And it's such a powerful drive that it's almost impossible to avoid, right? Meaning, you want to stop eating, you want to control yourself, you want to be a little bit of a person of precious who separates from the physical. It's not easy. It's extremely difficult. So why am I saying all these crazy things? I just want to point out that eating in Judaism is not just something we do to keep going. it is meant to be extremely holy. And there are levels upon levels upon levels where a person can grow in their connection to food and eating. It's not a joke. What's the famous statement that we always say to describe every Jewish holiday?
Eat food.
They killed us. No, sorry, they tried to kill us. We won. Let's eat. Right? This is what everybody says. But, did you ever think that it's odd that kind of the main thing we do on all of our holidays is sit there for like hours at a time at meals?
It's very human.
It's very what?
Human.
Human? Okay.
Like we're vulnerable and we're sharing a vulnerable moment with each
Right.
other.
Yeah, okay. I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. It is a moment of vulnerability. But like, who would make such a thing? Like, I want to make a religion. It's going to be extremely holy. So you know what we're going to do on every one of our holy days? We're all going to go find a separate rock off on a mountain somewhere, and we're going to meditate the whole day. That's going to be holy. That sounds holy to me, right? No. We're going to sit around at the table, and we're all going to eat the whole time. Yeah, and right. So Barbara's saying over here that it's the Indian of simcha. Simcha is accomplished, and oneg is accomplished through eating. That's how we do it, right? It's a huge part of our religion, a huge part, right? So it's holy, it's important, it's very, very serious. So it's not as crazy as one might think. Rabbi Nachman says over here, "V'hamoyach lefi hamazon." The way that we eat is going to have a huge effect on our consciousness. It's what we do. Let's keep going. Let's go farther. But when we are condemned to extraneousness, I don't know, through the fact that we choose to go off of our tradition and our Masorah from the Chachamim. Then what happens is disgusting vapors rise up to our brain, to our mind, and they mix up and confuse our minds and our consciousness. What does it mean? Let's go a little further. And then what happens is I'm not able to have a clarity of mishpat. I'm not able to make clear decisions, and therefore I come out with crooked decisions, and I make the wrong decisions. So, talking about here, if a person puts themselves into a situation where they repudiate emunas chachamim, and they eat in a way of moisres. So let's follow the chain. What did Rabbi Nachman say happens when you blemish emunas chachamim? When you go off of emunas chachamim, you mock our traditions and our sages. What happens?
You get boiled in excrement.
You get boiled in excrement, or it's true.
Boiled in excrement.
On our pathway over here, you're condemned to a life of moisres. You go into moisres, which is these extraneous behaviors that are not useful or helpful or purposeful or meaningful. We begin to behave in a wasteful, extraneous way. That's called moisres. We put ourselves into that lifestyle, right? And that lifestyle involves all of these things. And physically, it involves this aspect of our food not doing what it's supposed to do, not being spiritual. Okay, we're gonna read something in one of the commentaries here in a second to help us to understand this. And when I do that, when I'm existing in this way, that my food is not spiritually doing what it's supposed to do, so instead of being a source of spirituality and connection and simcha and oineg and all of these beautiful things that it's supposed to be, what does it become? It becomes disgusting. And that disgusting nature of the food inside me rises up. It's vapors. It's, I guess, spiritual vapors rise up into my higher self, right? Into my intellectual self, and cause confusion, and cause me to be mixed up, and cause me to make bad decisions. Mishpate me'ukal, whatever, however you say it. To make a mishpat me'ukal, a crooked judgment. Yeah. So how does this work? How does the food aspect work over here? So listen to this. if you look, by the way, I'm suggesting that if you want to see this inside, it's a very well explained, two ways to understand this in the BRI book over here, at the bottom in note number 24. So at the bottom of page 202. So here's the deeper meaning of what it means to boil an excrement and to have a mind that's polluted by the vapors of this excrement. So he says like this: with no vessels to receive it, the light in the foods he eats disappears, and all he is left with is, one second. Is its physical elements. So when he eats, the nutrients that the blood carries to the brain include the vapors produced by the waste matter, which leave his mind confused and polluted. So what does that mean? So in other words, like this: if we need to have, in order to receive wisdom, in order to receive bracha and light from Hashem, what do we need to have in order to receive it? We need to have vessels. We need to have kelim. We need to have vessels within us to receive what Hashem wants to give us, to receive the light. Yeah? All of Kabbalah, once again, we said it many times, is oros and kelim, light and vessels. That's the whole system. You have to have a vessel to receive the light. How do we build vessels? How do we build kelim and vessels? Base is in emunah, for sure. It is through emunah, basically. Through emunah. And emunah tzachamim is a big part of it. So when I have, let's just say emunah to start with, when I have emunah, I'm building vessels. When I have emunah tzachamim, I have a vessel that's able to receive. If you remember earlier on, receiving was a big part of what we're talking about here. I have to be a person who's ready to accept and receive. Right? Emunah tzachamim gives me a vessel, gives me a keli that I can receive from. Oh, so now when I have kelim and I eat my food, and now I'm also a spiritual person because I'm connected to the Chachamim and all of Torah. Remember, when I say Chachamim, I'm not speaking about, specific rabbis. I'm talking about, all of the Torah Shebiksav and Torah Shebal Peh. Torah Shebal Peh, the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Achronim, the Rishonim, the Achronim, everything. That's all Chachamim. Our entire Judaism is Emunat Chachamim. I'm not talking about one person. The whole of our entire tradition, all of Judaism, is Emunat Chachamim. Yeah? So when I'm connected to that, and I'm living my life spiritually, and I have Emunah, and so therefore I have kelim, I have vessels that can receive light from Hashem. Now when I eat, what happens is the light and the spiritual nutrients from that food do what they're supposed to do. And they're useful, and they're positive, and they're fulfilling a purpose. So they're amazing. And the light is converted to spirituality and ruchnius, and it comes up and fills me and gives me chachma, let's say. Goes into my mind. Hamoyach lefi hamazon. Right? So that when we say hamoyach lefi hamazon, we're saying that the mind and the wisdom and the consciousness is elevated according to the way that I eat. Do I eat as a person with emunah, with a person with kelim, with vessels, a person with emunah chachamim, right? That now, when I eat, the food is releasing its spiritual energy into me. And that spiritual energy is what's powering me. Or am I a person who's eating like a cow? Like a behemoth, with no spirituality. And you know what happens with a cow when a cow eats? They have like 4 stomachs, I think, right? They chew their cud. It's an animalistic whole situation over there. And what happens when I eat in that way? All that's left of my food is the physical aspects of it. And what happens to food physically? It becomes disgusting. When it goes through your system, it becomes disgusting. What happens if you leave food out, physical food out too long? It decays and becomes moldy and gross and disgusting. Yeah? Ever find an old present? I found, a while ago, I found that one of my kids left their lunch container right, in a bag for like 6 months that we didn't find. And then, I opened it and there was ashanim sruchim. Let's say disgusting vapors were coming out from this. Right? This is the nature of only the physical aspects of food. It's just food. I'm just a behemoth. I'm just a cow. Right? I'm just chewing and eating and excreting, and that's all it is. And that is disgusting. And it rises up and infects us, and the vapors, spiritual vapors, are carried to our brain and cause us to be people of what's it called? Bilbul, confusion and darkness. On the other hand, if I'm eating as a spiritual person, and I'm eating as someone who's on the derech hamamutza, who the middle path, who's receiving from this amazing, long-standing tradition of emunas chachamim, a download of spirituality and wisdom and guidance from Hashem through Moshe Rabbeinu and all of the chachamim, tzaddikim, down to me. Oh, now when I eat, I'm bringing in amazing things. I'm bringing in light. I'm bringing in wisdom and higher consciousness. And this is, the light is coming to my mind, not the disgusting vapors. Right? So this is one way to see it. So listen to this. Here's another way that it works. This is the way it works with food, which I think is awesome. Totally amazing. How does it work with emunas chachamim? So, if you look top of page 203, I'm going to read this and then we'll explain it. We know that chachma refers to intellect and the comprehension of the mind, whereas faith, which is applicable only when one does not understand, implies the constriction of chachma. Meaning, chachma is wisdom. Chachma means I got it, I understand. When do I go to emunah? When I don't know clearly. Right? Emunah means I have to believe. Why do I say I believe? I don't believe that Roey is sitting beside me right now. I don't believe it. I know it. It's chachma, it's wisdom, it's obvious, right? It's here. I don't believe it. I believe that some people will probably listen to this on YouTube after we upload it. I don't know for sure. I believe, right? We believe when in a certain sense, when knowledge ends and belief begins, let's say. There's other ways that this goes, but let's say it like that. So when we don't have chachma, but we have emunah, we have a mindset that's constricted. And in that place, we are not as able to make clear choices. I can make clear choices when my mind is clear. Right? When my mind is not clear, I can't make such clear choices, obviously. That's called bringing mishpat to light. Bringing mishpatim la'or. Okay, with me? Everybody with me? Okay, we're going to make this. However, if a person has emunas chachamim, if he puts his trust in the sages and follows their advice, this emunas chachamim frees his intellect of its constrictions so that he can apply it to his current situation. He eventually discovers how to reach a clear decision, one attained through the intellect itself. Meaning that if I have emunas chachamim, I don't have to exist in a state of not being sure and not being certain. I'm throwing myself to emunas chachamim. Right? Whatever the Torah tells me to, whatever the Torah Shabbal Peh tells me to, whatever the chachamim tell me to, whatever my rabbi tells me to do, that's what I'm doing. All of a sudden, I have space. I have a place where I can use my mind now. I'll say practically, when a person doesn't have this, they can spend time in fear, in doubt, and in overthinking a lot. Why? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And things are important. And I'm worried. And I'm scared what's going to be. So I'm ruminating and percolating all the time. What's going to be? How am I going to do the right thing? How am I going to figure it out? Right? Why? Because I'm just using me. And I'm thinking that I'm the one who's gonna figure everything out. Right? And that is a really bad move. because we don't have the wisdom to do that. You know what we need in order to be able to make right decisions? We need emunas chachamim. We need to have all of Torah and Masorah behind us. And when we do that, and when we say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not sure, but I know that it's going to be according to Torah and according to emunas chachamim. And if I don't know, I'm going to speak to someone. I'm going to speak to a rabbi who knows, a teacher who knows, and I'm going to ask them what to do. This is the whole concept of das Torah. That when we have something that we need to figure out, we go and we speak to someone who is a person who has this thing called das Torah. That means someone who's plugged in. Really, in our Torah, it means someone who has emunas chachamim, and his Rebbe had emunas chachamim, and his Rebbe had emunas chachamim, and he knows. And such a person is able to give us the answer. And when we are ready to say, this is what I do. When I don't know, I ask. Das Torah, my life is completely different. And I have a certain aspect of peace, a certain aspect of a settled mind, a certain aspect of menucha. Why? Because what's the worry? I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to do the right thing according to emunas chachamim, according to Torah and Masorah. And what's going to be? I don't know, but I'll be doing the right thing.
That's freedom.
I'll be doing the right thing. That's freedom. That's right. And so there's a space. I've freed up a place in my mind where I'm not just focused and ruminating on this difficult thing that's going on in my life. Now I have space in my mind. Now I have space in my chokhmah that I can actually make a decision. My mind is free and clear and able to make a good decision. This is the first way that Reb Nosson explains how emunas chachamim is going to help me to make mishpatei emes. It's going to help me to make these good decisions. That's the first way. The second way, listen to this, is from the Parparas Chachma, which is one of the main commentaries on the Likutei Moharan, which is the Charin Rav. And so he says like this, Rav Nachman Mitcharin. So he says a little bit differently. He says like this. He says that really, where does Chachma come from? How do we as Yidden connect to Chachma? We connect to Chachma through our neshama. Right? Everybody knows, right? We say when we're, half the people here know anyway, we're putting our tefillin, and we're saying the L'Shem Yichud before we put it on. It says, V'haneshama shebemoichi, right? That the neshama rests and dwells within our brain. Neshama shebemoichi. That's the place. Neshama is connected to our brain, to our wisdom. So when a person is connected spiritually to their deeper selves, to their soul, to their neshama, they're going to have now a connection to Chokhmah. This is how we connect to Chokhmah. And when I don't have that, right, what does he say over here? Listen to this. Without faith, an emunah is what connects me to my neshama. Without faith, a person is unaware of his inner light, and therefore succumbs to the dark emptiness of materialism, which is what? Moisres, waste matter. He is then unable to guide himself and is certainly in no position to guide others. Meaning, if I'm a person of moisres, I'm a this world person, I'm a food person, I'm a pleasures of this world person, right? I'm not connected to emunas chachamim. I'm not coming to learn Daf Yomi every day. I'm not coming to learn Torah, to connect to Torah Shabbal Peh, all of the books, to have connection to Rebbeim and whole pathways, right, of Masorah, right? If I have that, and that's putting me on the path to being connected to my neshama, that is the deeper essence of me that actually makes that connection to Chokhmah. Now, I'm able to have Chokhmah. I'm able to actually make decisions the right way. So once again, if I learn Torah, if I have emunas chachamim, if I ask das Torah, if I'm a person who focuses on spirituality, right? You know who else are chachamim, by the way? Are Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and the Arizal and the Rashash and all of the Chassidim and everybody who are into deeper spiritual things. That's also emunas chachamim. That's also Torah Shabbal Peh. right? So if I'm focused on all these things and I'm connected, now my neshama is connected. Now that neshama that I'm connected to is connected to Chachma that comes down from the highest places from Hashem through Moshe Rabbeinu and all of the Talmidei Chachamim and sages throughout the ages comes down to me, and now I have wisdom. Now I can make a decision, right? But if I'm one of these people that mocks the Talmidei Chachamim, that mocks the rabbis, mocks the Talmud, mocks all of our sayings, and makes fun of them
On YouTube.
wherever you do it, on YouTube, wherever you do it, right? I've cut myself off from my soul. I'm not living as a soul anymore. I'm just a physical being in the world with no connection to a soul and nothing to connect me to the higher wisdom. And now I have no hope in making a decision. My soul connects me to wisdom, and wisdom gives me the ability to make a decision, to make mishpatim. If I don't have a soul, a connection to my soul, I don't connect to wisdom, and I cannot make good decisions. It's not possible. This is the way the Parpas Chachma understands the importance of this connection in the way the mishpatim are coming out. And the same thing is happening with the food. Yeah? If I'm connected in this way, I'm going to take from the food the spirituality. And it's going to light me up. It's going to give me intellect. And if I'm not, it's going to be physical and dirty and disgusting. Yeah? Okay, wow. What time is it? Okay, we've got a few more minutes. Let's see if we can finish something up. I'm talking too much today. B'chinas, right. So as I yoytze mishpat meukol b'chinas ki rasha machtir es atzadik al kein yoytze mishpat meukol. Because so the pasuk says in Habakkuk that the Rasha is machtir, the evil people are able to surround the tzaddik. Al kein yoytze mishpat meukol. So this is an interesting pasuk over here. It's referring to Habakkuk and his vision of Nebuchadnezzar, that he saw that he was going to be able to, that Hashem was not going to punish him right away. He was going to be given the ability to harm Klal Yisrael. And Habakkuk was perplexed. How could it be that this Rasha is allowed to have shlita over Klal Yisrael, over the righteous? It sounds like it's distorted judgment, like it's mishpat mu'ukal. It doesn't make sense. How could it be? This is a crooked judgment coming down. How could it be? That's why he's bringing this pasuk. This pasuk is referring to crooked judgment. The decisions that we make that are crooked when we don't have the wisdom that we need. So what's the evil people that are surrounding the tzaddik is referring to these vapors of disgustingness that come from our food when we're not holy and surround our brain and they confuse us. Through that comes out crooked judgment. So the pasuk says in Tehillim that our holy mishpatim, the other nations of the world don't know them. Bal Yadaum. So Baal is lashon, which means they don't. Is also lashon of Beis Lamed Bilbul, right? When you don't have these mishpatim, and you don't have this connection, this chachma, so it's going to be an absolute state of bilbulim, of confusion. Let's say quickly the next. Just the topic of the next thing, and we'll see. We're not going to get through the whole thing. V'doyeg al yedei shelimudai haya b'mechinas elu amosaris. So there's a character in Nach from the time of David HaMelech called Doeg. Doeg was the Av Bezdin. He was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, a tremendous Talmid Chacham, Doeg. And here's the story, and we'll figure it out and how it applies to the Torah next week. But the story is like this. Doeg did two terrible things. He was, remember, a gigantic Talmid Chacham, Av Bezdin, right? He was like the top of the top, meaning he was the head of the Sanhedrin. And he did two terrible things. One of the things was, he had something out against David HaMelech. First thing he did was he figured out a way to say that David HaMelech was really a mamzer, chas v'shalom, and should not be allowed to be part of Klal Yisrael. David HaMelech. And he did this in a way of figuring out a judgment, a mishpat, like making a legal ruling. This is the first wrong thing that he did, clearly. David HaMelech. Who's more Jewish than David HaMelech? Come on. Right? Everybody wears the Magen David. Right? Every Jew. Even the, people who are not, right? That's the first thing. The second thing he did, which is terrible, is there was a place, a city called what's it called? One second. Called Ir Kahanim. What's it called? Noiv, Ir Kahanim. Noiv, a city of Kahanim, of priests. And David Melech was there, or David Melech, one of his advisors was there, and Doeg saw this, and he assumed that city was conspiring with David Melech against King Saul, Shalom Melech. So he made a determination and advised the king that these guys are rising up against you. We should go now and kill that entire city of Kahanim. And so they did. This is what Doeg did. So, Doeg was the head of the Sanhedrin, the Av Bezdin, huge Talmud Chacham. And what came out from him? Absolute mishpat me'ukal. Absolute crooked judgment. Actual judgments that he made that were unbelievably terrible. How could this happen? So next week, we'll begin to discuss how did the story go, how did it happen, and how does it connect to everything we're saying in our Torah so far. Shkoyach, everybody. Have a great night. Sorry, there are other shears coming in. We gotta stop. All the best, guys.